You'll have to jump in, Ming.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
Cool. Where's the headphones so I can test?
I sent off a big email as well today for the CCG stuff, the cross K group stuff. It was like 550 emails.
How?
555 emails actually.
Wait, what's 550?
Emails that I
you've
sent
sent in total
today.
What? How can you even send 550? That doesn't make sense.
This is when you find out Kyrin did not do mail merge back in his working days, but I hadn't either. This is the first time I've trialed out doing mail merging. You can mail merge, so you can hook up Outlook / Word to a database, and you can automate sending emails if you've got a database of information.
Okay.
So then you don't physically send out the emails. You draft something, you put in the variables, attach it to a database, and then send it off.
So you send out one email.
One email that propagated 555 emails.
Here we go. Okay, it's not as loud as I thought it would be. Hey, Kyrin speaking. Yes.
Test.
Maybe we just weren't speaking to the mics.
Oh, as in like that. It probably wasn't speaking into the mics for the audio.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Got that one there. Now I just need to share it. Still is a little bit soft. That's turned up pretty high. Maybe I can fix that a little bit later. Alright, come over to here. Didn't read what you sent that to Trevor. What did you say there? Oops, no. There we go. I gotta get better with this timing. Always a couple of minutes late.
Timing. Well, you never know actually how much what's going to be messed up and what's not going to be messed up.
This is true.
Some days it'll be completely working, some not.
Can you message our group, please?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in particular, just Joey. Make sure he's there. I'm not going to add more to that. I'll just tweet that out. I'll let my brother know as well. Patricia's in the chat. Hey, Patricia.
Hello.
What up? I was reading some Spanish today. My Spanish is definitely getting worse. It's a bit of a grind reading.
If you haven't really been keeping up with it, then understandable.
Yeah. It's. But my German is definitely improving. So.
Well, that's positive. I mean, if you were saying that's also not improving, that'd be damn.
Yeah, that would not be so great.
I've kind of hit the next wall, I guess, on French at the moment. On the next set of words, it's a big jump of a lot of words at the moment.
Okay.
And I'm semi struggling to keep up with the avalanche of new stuff versus what I've kind of already held in my mind, I guess. I'm oh, okay. I can see that there's almost now a minimum threshold of how much I need to be keeping up with it, or else it starts to loosen away.
Yep. This is
I guess this might be the feeling. Well, no, this would be a different feeling, but I can assimilate what you're saying around. You stop doing Spanish for a while, and then it's you can feel a little bit of that grind. There's some of that now in French. Also find out that in French, I don't know if this is correct for any other languages, and I'm not even sure if this is correct, but this is the way I'm getting taught, is that, you know how you'd say we in English? You'd say like, oh, we did this.
Yeah.
And in Spanish, you say nosotros hicimos esto.
Yeah.
Right? In French, and I cannot understand why, I haven't really looked into it, but you could say nous, which N-O-U-S, which is we, or sometimes you say nous, N-O-U-S twice. Okay. And it means exactly the same thing. And there's obviously a difference as to when you use it. I don't know when. And I'm like, bruh, this is not teaching me well enough why in the world this is doing this.
Quick Google search?
Yeah, well, that's what I didn't do. I just looked at it this morning. So, but if someone wants to Google it for me, tell me. If you're a French native speaker, tell me so I can get some other understanding.
I don't want to do that. I got enough.
Well, no, if it's a French, native, please tell me.
I get you. Yeah, no, there's plenty of stuff to be learnt. Got West Side Baby in the chat as well, and also got the speakers going. Okay, I think that's good enough. You ready to roll?
Let's do it.
You're running this one?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go, people. Let me put that, and there we go.
Welcome back, the Immortal Light. It is musings. We've got topics in our minds. Our musings is a chance for us to have conversations about something in particular, not so much the meandering conversation that we might have philosophizing out of the park, but this is a direct bit of commenting on a specific topic. You've got Juan here on this side.
And Kyrin here on Wednesday, 22nd of March.
22nd of March. I forgot they were going to say the date. We are always live at 7 p.m. Australian Standard Time if you want to come and join us live. However, if you've been listening to this on a separate feed or later down the track, just know you can come in and participate live. We've got a couple of people on there right now. And so do feel free straight away to make sure you participate if you want to go and do that. Now, the topic I wanted to talk to today was asymmetric benefits. Is that how you would state it?
No.
Asymmetric benefits. Asymmetric benefits.
No, wrong. Asymmetric opportunities.
Asymmetric opportunities. I wrote as asymmetric benefits. Well, whichever case, asymmetric opportunities. Now, I saw a Twitter post. This was triggered by a Twitter post that I saw where it was just interesting. I saw it come up randomly. I don't know that these are people that I'm following in particular, but they seem to be lately on Twitter. Lots of these thread type posts just come up always on my feed. Probably because they're reshared the most or liked by other people that I'm following. Whatever the case. This one was the asymmetric opportunities that sort of came up. And I went, that's actually quite interesting. I hadn't considered in that exact wordage or verbiage. You'll often hear me talking about risk benefit and balancing it out. And I went, okay, cool. Here's another way, I guess, stating it, asymmetric opportunities. And I didn't think that we'd probably touch base on specifics where we might find them in everyday life, whether we consciously target them or not, whether we find them to even be worth looking into or not. So one, I would probably say, first of all, and I want to do something a little bit different. So I did a little bit of research to begin this, but it was research led by AI. So I do not know whether this is is it valuable? However, it goes to the point of asymmetric opportunities like AI. So, we'll get into it a little bit more, but for me, I went, hey, what did I actually refer to? It's basically a situation where you're benefiting more than the risk or the downside is on the other end, right? Fairly straightforward. We talk about it on like a scale, as in, if you're balancing one side on the benefits and the pros, and then there's the other side and the cons, and it just seems obvious to take that gamble, that chance, because the pros just overwhelm it in whatever way you want to scale it. Fantastic, cool, take it. AI for me is sort of one of those where I go, hey, even if what I get out as the outputs are a little bit dodgy, maybe not as informative, but hell, they're very, very quick, I'll probably go and absorb this. So I asked ChatGPT to give me, what are some useful resources if people want to go and check this out. And it's spat...
To learn more? Or?
To learn more about asymmetric opportunities. Okay. And it spat out... I wanted to get it to pump out articles, like scientific articles. So I could go, has anyone actually done some studies against this and whatnot? And I couldn't get it to do it, but it triggered to say things like, hey, the useful resources like The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, The Rise and Fall of American Growth by Robert Gordon, and The Black Swan by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. And I went, okay, that seems a fair statement. But I went, look, that there I can associate an asymmetric opportunity where I've gone, hey, it's more valuable probably for me to just to do this through the AI and get this information rather than me going and finding this information, probably because the pros and cons are very minimal in this scenario. But it wasn't until after I did the whole thing that I kind of approached it and went, oh, that's kind of like an asymmetric opportunity there, but it wasn't conscious. It wasn't something that I was self-evidently thinking about each and every time, which we kind of not do. And I thought we'd probably start at that point, which is that idea of asymmetric opportunities, all the balance, all the scales. In large part, does that idea ever really come to you as an individual that you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm really conscious about this. I'm really thinking about this at any point in time?
Oh, really? It's usually just, oh, that's a good idea or a bad idea. I don't think of it as a good opportunity, asymmetric opportunity in favor of me in a good light or a bad light. Not particularly, no.
Yeah, and so again, I'm going to be referencing that Twitter post. One of the things that it commented for was first dates. It said first dates are asymmetric opportunities where, if you go on a first date, there's so much opportunity that could be found from it. I kind
of had a look through that thing. I found it a bit vague, to be honest.
I found it a bit vague too, which is why I did some other looks.
While you're speaking.
But even in that aspect of it, I went, I could see where the claims being made that it's an asymmetric opportunity because there is so much opportunity that could be befall it. If you, right on the first date, things don't work out or it doesn't go as you planned it, okay, well, it's just a few hours that didn't go right versus the potential lifetime or partner or fun that you could find on the other end. Right, fantastic.
So this dude is named Arjun Mahadevan, something like that. He starts to talk about it. His first one is going on first dates. Second is investing in startups. 3 is start a company. 4 is create a book, podcast, or video. 5 is create a software product. 6 is go to a cocktail party. 7 is move to a big city. 8 is tweet. 9, building in public.
Cool. So those, and this is where I wanted to discuss the point of the asymmetric opportunity because I was reading through all of those. Gave the exact example of the first dates. It seems to me like it's a fun idea. It's an interesting idea, and I like the concept. But generally, it's either retrospectively that I might apply it onto something to maybe have some learnings for the future, or maybe something really strategic where, and look, there's another call out there about the podcasts where, asymmetric opportunities podcast, and I believe the description around it is because putting out long-lasting content that might go beyond you and can reach multiple more people's.
It's more that's reproducible.
The reproducibility of it. Okay, yes. So all the reachability, extensibility, whatever it may be, there's benefits that could go towards that for a 1 hour investment or X amount of money that you put in. So I can see that. But even then, when we created the podcasts here at the Mere Mortals, I don't think we ever stopped once to think, oh, this is an asymmetric opportunity versus another opportunity that was lying around. It was more, hey, this opportunity is present. Seems like we could do it. Okay, let's go and do that.
Yeah.
So, So I guess your answer for, do you ever think about it? I don't either. I think in the moment, as in right when I'm planning to do something, I'm not really thinking about an asymmetric opportunity. I'm not thinking about it in those relations. But I can see a lot of benefit in reflecting back on things that have occurred to go, oh, yes. If I'm looking back at this now, I can go and really see that opportunity was not what I would consider an asymmetric opportunity in my favor. It was definitely in the favor of whatever, someone else's favor, but I was not benefiting as much as I was probably losing time, money, impact, or doing something else. So I wanted to check if that sort of like reasoned with you as well.
Yeah. In essence, for me, this is judging risk and reward. That's essentially what it is. You want to just be able to judge what is better or not. So an asymmetric opportunity is obviously one where the reward is super high and the risk or the downside is really, really small. And, vice versa, if it's, maybe could get a small benefit, but you're at risk of losing everything or losing something really significant, well, that's a bad one, and you don't really want to play that game. So I kind of viewed it in those terms, and then I started going, okay, well, how would I think about risk and reward, and how do I kind of judge these two things? And so I came up with 3 categories.
3?
Yep, which I put them into. So I put them into physical, emotional, and then material. And this is how I think probably for myself when I'm evaluating stuff, physical, i.e. my own physical well-being is probably the highest. Emotional, my own emotional well-being, and then material, and then, vice versa, extending this onto other people. So if I'm if there's an opportunity or I'm doing something and has a risk of impacting other people, I judge it in terms of physical, emotional, and then material would probably be the last one. So I got some examples here. If you maybe wanted to run through these, and we'll see if these resonate with you. So some high risk examples. So these were ones where I feel the risk is way greater than the opportunity the reward that you could get from it. So the couple that I came up with, one relating to me was mining in perhaps Papua New Guinea or Africa. There's jobs out there. You can get jobs which probably pay twice as much as what I could get opportunity wise. But the physical toll of going to Africa, of being in a
Sub-Saharan desert,
unstable country where white skin is not necessarily a good thing.
Good skin.
Yeah, where Papua New Guinea, where you're taking charter flights and helicopters, and you hear all sorts of stories of the whole executive board of a mining company perishing it because their helicopter screwed up in the jungle or something, and then it's like they're gone. There's not a chance.
There's no getting them.
So for me, I look at that and I'm like, well, sure, there's maybe some material benefit, but compared to the physical risk, way too high. Another one, you see this all the time, a girl like Stephanie Millinger, who's just this insane handstand beast. She does handstands on the side of a cliff for Instagram props and for the photo, and so all sorts of people do this. What's the reward you get from that? You maybe get some clout. You maybe get
a good photo,
a
good
photo.
Memory.
Yeah, something like that. The physical risk, man. I mean, like, even if
fairly
you're
high,
the best of the best handstander, and she's right up there. She can do some ridiculous shit. She's got a world record for the amount of stalders she did in a row was like 600 or something.
What?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Wow.
She was just her max handstand to do that was like half an hour and stuff. Now there's a technique to it because you can kind of like lean on your hands and whatnot, so it's more of a crow type pose or a yoga pose where you can it's not as hard and draining, but still fucking crazy. She's really, really good, but the risk of a bird flying into of an earthquake, of loose soil, of whatever.
Yeah, a lot of variables that you could be like, well, you're now dead.
Yes, correct. And so once again, this is putting the physical way higher than maybe the material or emotional benefit you get for thinking like, oh, I'm such a boss. Ones where I put into the emotional category, celebrity worship, perhaps. You love a celebrity, you're so emotionally invested in them. That's a kind of bad risk, because what reward do you get for being like the biggest fanboy? Not much. There's no real reward for being the person who knows the most about Taylor Swift. But I think there's a huge emotional baggage or risk that if she says something bad, or if she gets cancelled, your whole emotional attachment to her is fucked, because you've invested so much in her emotionally. It's like everyone hates her now. It'd kind of be like everyone hates me, that sort of deal. So that's one I put in the bad category. And then an easy one, gambling. If you're in the casino gambling, the material payoff is so shit compared to the emotional benefit you get of something like that. So maybe you can get a little bit of money, but emotionally and then even materially, it's a bad choice, because
you're either you're going to be
in the long term you're going to lose. In the long term you're going to
statistically it's not going to work out for you.
Yeah. So are there any high risk examples or ones that you see are particularly that's a bad opportunity to take,
to pursue,
because the risk is just so heavily outweighs the reward?
Yeah, there was a few. I'll come up with a few in my mind, which are extreme level powerlifting or extreme anything in the fitness space. I think that there's a the opportunity, at least in my eyes, the asymmetric opportunity
So
there
you mean
is
like
not
trying to be the
balanced enough.
best? Is
Trying
that
to
kind of what you're
be,
thinking?
yeah, trying to be like the number one. Like I'm talking worldwide number one.
Like
but
even
more
Olympic athletes, a lot of them have regular day jobs because they just don't get paid sponsorship. You know, you being the best water polo player or something.
They probably don't even pay that much.
No,
Anyways,
you wouldn't be able to survive just
on just like what your professional sport is.
Correct.
But I guess I would say there's asymmetric opportunities. I would believe in some sporting fields if you have a certain level of connection, skill, and drive to do things. Probably could see that in a lot of the team sports, I would say, quite easily. I guess there would be some opportunities, though, that not all sports would be quite asymmetric in that sense, because let's take extreme version of it, powerlifting, like elite powerlifting. The amount of money you get for it, it's very little. Apart from now, they're starting to come out with some sort of monetary value for strongman events. Like a lot of the strongmen now are starting to get paid a little bit more depending on the type of event that they do. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking elite powerlifting, IPF, or whatever it may be. You're not getting paid realistically. You're purely doing it for the love. And if you're doing it for the love, that's fine. But if it's the asymmetric opportunity, let's just go on the physical, mental, and that monetary /
So I had physical, emotional, and then material.
So in that aspect of it, it's is it really an opportunity that's asymmetric? It doesn't feel like it. So there's one example. Mm-hmm. Another example, but this comes into a personal example that I noted down, which will then get to the next point where I'm going to say straight away, it also very much depends on the person, because an asymmetric opportunity that I found, and again, this is reviewing back, not looking forward, was the acting that I undertook. So I took on 4 acting classes, and again, I'll state it out. It was fun. I learned quite a lot of things. I learned a lot about myself. I had to be more humble, a variety of stuff, doing new things. I'm not suggesting that it's not a thing to do, right? But as an opportunity, it wasn't asymmetric towards the pros or the cons for that matter. It was balanced in either way.
Okay.
As in, hey, if I'd spend that energy on other fields of play, let's just say I'd spend that exact amount of time in studying, researching, learning about a new topic, learning how to sing. You could insert something else and the opportunity itself wouldn't have changed too much in one way or another. So those sort of actions or events or activities that you might take, I wouldn't put them in there, hey, this is a quite asymmetric opportunity. No, it's just it's an opportunity. It's quite balanced, and it wasn't tailored towards the negative end. So we can explain it in extremes where it's like, well, realistically, why in the hell would you do handstand flips on a tripwire over a building? It seems kind of dumb. If you're doing it like that, just seems like a no-go. That's kind of the extreme of probably the asymmetric opportunity on the other end. However, you can also find opportunities and activities that are not asymmetric opportunities in the pro, regardless, and you can recognize them as being neutral. Like I'd recognize looking at the acting class that I undertook, and I went, okay, well, this isn't such an opportunity that I would go and do it again. Like it wasn't that much of an asymmetric opportunity, but I was happy that I did it, and there's some learnings that I took away from it, and cool, and now I can move on. Like I can carry on with my merry way. But I think it's very dependent, and this gets back to, like you mentioned, with the mind, the body, and the material. I guess that's your perspective on what it means, because it got me thinking. I was just, as I was saying it through, the powerlifting thing, I could imagine some person who really loves powerlifting, just for the beauty of it, for the lifting of it, that goes, well, no, it's an asymmetric opportunity for me because the mental aspect of just feeling like I'm lifting heavy weight and the ability to move heavy weight and maybe the physicalness of it, even if it makes them injured, it's just so ridiculously high. It is an asymmetric opportunity for me.
Yeah, correct. This all comes down to value in the end, judging value, and value is super subjective. So for some people, it is going to be the biggest opportunity they'll ever see in their life, even though for most other people, they would go, only an idiot would take that. There's so little that you can actually get from that. But if you eat, live, and breathe powerlifting, and that's all you want to do,
then it's an opportunity it's an asymmetric opportunity that you want to take.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Did you have at all one that you've reflected back on that maybe you thought, oh, that would have been a good opportunity, or that's going to be really fun, But then in retrospect, it's like, it wasn't the asymmetric opportunity that I thought it was going to be. It's probably just a neutral thing, or, if it happened again, it happens again, but you're not now in the expectations it's going to be disproportionately beneficial to any of those categories of body, mind, and
not really.
material.
Because that would have required me to have come into it being like, this is an amazing opportunity.
In the first place.
Yeah. So, so much stuff I've done in life has just been, I'm just going to try this now. One thing I was reflecting on recently actually was the benefits that I got from doing that period in 2017 when I came back here after working in the mines and just experimenting in the promotional media movie sort of scene, world, industry.
Yep.
I've got a lot of stories that I kind of repeat from there. And I was talking with my roommate today, and she was looking up at creating a business and stuff, and we were just talking about how one of the things I learned from this was following up on timesheets and trying to get paid. I never want to be in a position where I'm chasing people to get paid for work that I've done. That experience sucks so much that I went, fuck this. I'm never going to put myself in a case like this again. Either I'm going to be in a salaried job where the company has to pay me, or it'd be like I'd be in such a big company that I would.
It's pretty assured, yeah.
Yeah, so I probably wouldn't even be in a kind of startup where if we go out of money, no one's getting paid, that sort of thing. I'd probably go, yeah, I'm not sure I want that kind of opportunity. Or in an industry like the fitness industry or personal training, where if someone cancels last minute, even though you've set aside the time to train them and whatnot, there can also be an argument as to, no, but you didn't train me, so you don't get paid, that sort of deal. And one of the things I learned from that was that, talking to women, of the type of people that get into the movie industry, of just straight up funny stories, like I told you recently, of the how shit I was at acting and getting rejected by the girl and whatnot. All of these things, they all came. I did so little work. I think I only did maybe 10 jobs in total, but I learned a whole lot about a whole area of life and a whole set of people which I don't really interact with. Like I don't seek them out or anything. So that's one of those ones where, looking back, I went, oh wow, the rewards from that was so much greater than the risks of looking like an idiot on camera, of spending the modicum of time that was required and whatnot. Now, the thing is, it's so hard to judge that. I couldn't have known all of that going in. So this is where it's the risk versus reward. Sometimes you can't judge it because it's those unknown unknowns, that sort of thing, where you just don't know. It's not that you don't know how much of it it'll get. You just don't even know it exists. I didn't know it existed. The pain of not getting paid for work that I'd done. I didn't really know. I couldn't conceptualize that wasn't part of my worldview at all. And then I experienced it and went, fuck that.
Don't want this again.
Yes, correct. So this is where it's really hard, because you're not going to be able to judge so many things in life because you just straight up don't know
what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And this leads on to probably a point that it's sort of like my final point for this, but it's a longer point. But we'll get into it, I think, after we do the Boostagram Lounge.
Okay.
Is there any comments that we want to target at all in there?
No particular comments.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's have a quick look at the Boostagram Lounge first of all before we get to that topic. Now, again, for folks at home, and you've listened to this before and you know what the Boostagram Lounge is, then yes, of course you do know. If you don't know, the Boostagram Lounge is where we're going to be reading out our supporters who've sent through some Boostagrams directly through to us, where we can communicate, play that back, obviously share that value that's come through, and obviously stick around to a little bit later in the podcast as well, towards the end, and we'll also share with you how you can participate, send through some value back to us in the podcast form that we're sending out to you.
Yep.
So the Boostagrams that I have here from, this always does it to me, where, cool, no, I've got it right. Now, it's a bit of a sad puppy.
It is.
Week again.
I know.
We've got the perennial Dave Jones with the weekly boost for the Be Immortal Nation. That's 12,112 sats sent using Cron. Keeps it at 12,112 sats, even though Satoshi prices of Bitcoin prices have gone up. Correct. So that's very. I like that he hasn't shifted that at all, which is really appreciated, Dave. So thank you very much.
Very much. So,
and continues to be there the weekly boost for the Be Immortal Nation. So thank you. But that is unfortunately the only boost that we received.
Yeah. So I've got some thoughts on this. We've noticed this. Look, value for value, it goes up and it goes down. We had some weeks where we were getting 6, 7 boostagrams in, that sort of thing, which is a lot of show content. Makes it easy, this section and whatnot. Sometimes it dives down and we're at one where Dave hasn't even sent in a message. It's just his kind of continuing.
It's the automated one.
Yep. Yes. So I do have some thoughts on this, and it'll probably be the basis of the next musings related to ideologies and sticking things through and how hard you go at certain things.
Okay.
And this is somewhat related to why I do clips nowadays. And we were talking about Nathaniel recently, who was on a couple of these live streams before. He tried to help out with the show. He tried his best, from what I can tell, of trying to learn about cryptocurrencies, about trying to get stuff through Fountain. I was barely able to do it, and I mean, I had all the things in place. I just got lucky that ING, my bank, or one of my banks, allows me to have this weird text phone messaging authentication, which is very unsafe from what I've heard. SMS is one of the least secure ways to do authentication and whatnot, from some security experts. So
okay.
And I've managed to be able to spend get $50 worth of Bitcoin through Fountain's in-app services, but I got lucky. So I had a little conversation with him, and basically we're gonna do a shoddy version where he'll just pay cash.
Yeah. And look, that's a bit of a shame actually, and we'll probably touch more towards the end, and maybe that's a little piece for what's coming up for the next musings. But I kind of go, again, we are very, very early in this space, both in the crypto world, in the blockchain world, and then you're talking on products being built and services off that. Like, it's still so early. So for people who do want to participate in sending us through value, again, try as you might, and again, reach out if you have finding troubles, and we can try and help you out to connect, get that Satoshis onto streaming podcasting applications that allow you to send through Satoshis and a Boostagram in essence, which is what Dave's message there was. But if you are finding it challenging, again, you can help us out with other things around sharing the podcast, mentioning it to a friend, and all those good things. Yep. But the Boostagram, I would say it's sort of the lifeblood for us. So we're ending this Boostagram Lounge to say, do please support. Try it out if you haven't already, and for those who do continue to support us, even on streams, because we're not looking at the ones that are coming through on streaming. We do. Thank you very much.
And reach out directly. Nathaniel reached out directly. We were able to help him somewhat, and even then, there'll still be like the next stage of having to do it in a more manual process. But if the thing holding you back is just fear of something new rather than time constraints, I don't understand Bitcoin. I don't know how to do this. I don't want to look like an idiot. Please don't let that be the thing.
No, don't let that be a thing. No.
Reach out to us. I spend all my time looking at this stuff, helping out, and I understand how hard and shit it is, and I spend a shit ton of time. So hopefully you won't have to. So I can help out.
So. Have you actually reached out to that individual who you were talking about reaching out directly to help out I forget her name. You were talking about this a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I'm chatting with her on Friday.
There you go. Yes. Cool. Yeah. Very good. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later as well.
Correct.
Okay, back to it. So really, the point I wanted to get to this conversation, this is probably the more meaty part of the conversation. Okay. Because when I first messaged you this particular topic, I went, I think it's an interesting point. Again, it's risk versus value versus, what you see just that you're going to go and do. And the more and more I thought about it, the more examples I got. And again, the more I asked ChatGPT to put up some scenarios around this and some information, the more I went, and we've kind of touched on it already, I don't think it actually cares. It actually matters practically for humans, for us mere mortals. It doesn't really, not to an extent. And okay. by that I mean is, you gave some examples, which are really quite clear. The extremes. Where it's really obvious going forward that is not an asymmetric opportunity in your favor. It's probably not in your favor. Doing handstand on a cliff, going and swimming around with sharks if you're covered in blood, crazy stuff that, as you say it, it's like, well, of course that opportunity is not in your favor. It's asymmetrically bad.
Yeah.
But unless it's at those extreme ends, right, at those very tippy top where it's obvious, where retrospectively or forward looking it's obvious, I kind of go, it applies less and less as it starts going beyond the extremes to the point of almost in itself being not valuable to pursue. So we started talking about, I gave you an example of, hey, there was the acting one, and it was not an asymmetric opportunity. It was just neutral. But then you gave an example of the acting or being in that industry, and you go, well, it's not necessarily an asymmetric opportunity, but you learned a lot of things. And in my mind, all it swelled, which is what I thought from before the podcast, I don't think it's helpful. Like, I don't think it's helpful at all to even think about it in that manner at all. I think it's helpful to see things in, those are learnings and the pros and cons, but to think about it in the terms of, that's an asymmetric opportunity, I need to go and do that. I kind of go, I think it's less valuable. Mm-hmm. It goes into, there's too many variables. The individual perspective is such a difference that I don't know if you could, going back to that Twitter post, for him to say, first dates, that's what it is. Running a business, asymmetric opportunity. I can go, I could see people who would disagree with that. Dude, I could see you disagreeing with some of those.
I've been talking about the energy suck that is dating recently.
Yep.
There is a very strong argument, I think, to only go on first dates with people who you have a pretty strong connection with, or something sparked on your first meeting, where, almost like the love at first sight type of trope, because first dates take a lot of time, man.
Yeah.
And a lot of them end up in just being a bit meh.
It's a reality.
I can tell you that.
And I think that, see, this is the problem with the concept of asymmetric opportunity. If you came here thinking we were going to give you like, this is what it is.
To be fair, I've got a couple of possibilities, but yeah.
Okay, and I want to hear the possibility to see if it contradicts this, or there's maybe some benefit.
Yeah.
But I really just went, again, that example is like, okay, if you say to someone, go and do 10,000 first dates. Okay, then maybe you start thinking like, that's a lot of time. That's not an opportunity I want. That's asymmetrically the wrong way. But who's to say that 10 dates, 20 dates, 50 first dates, is that still all asymmetric opportunities on your favor? What's the boundary where it kind of goes away from that and becomes neutral? And then where does it go the other way? You can't know. You can't know for the different individuals, because everyone has different values, different opportunities, different thoughts on what it'd be, different states of when you think that it could be or not be, right? If you're a 16-year-old boy or girl, you might think that is an asymmetric opportunity because you can't just be dating lots of people or see lots of people and kind of pick and choose. If you're 72 years old, I don't know whether first dating, doing 300 first dates is going to be an asymmetric opportunity or not.
Yeah.
If they're talking in the determination of, well, if you spend this many hours to get, someone who's going to be with you for the longest time, hey, it's an asymmetric opportunity. Not always.
So in particular, he says asking someone out on a date has a huge asymmetric upside. You might hit it off and end up in a relationship. If not, you'd just be a little embarrassed and maybe awkward with the person afterwards, or you end up getting married. So in this case, I think he's talking more about the asking
first
of someone,
interaction.
Well, more the asking for something rather than perhaps being too afraid to ask for it. So in this case, he's applied it to first dates, but you could also put this in terms of asking for a raise or asking for a free discount. You did it at the suit shop we were at recently. Nothing bad happened from it, but you could have saved all of us a bunch of money if it had worked out. So this is where it's, got to be careful as well to be particular, because he's saying, in this case, it's not really the first dates what he's talking about. He's saying that asking someone to go out for the first date is the asymmetric.
Yeah, and maybe it's the wording or the visual. If you want to have a look at those triangles, I think it's more beneficial in the end, in my mind, to look at is this, if something could have the potential for more benefit than it has downside, or it has no downside, then that is opportunities that you should be looking to do more of? That's a very general statement. But then it has to be influenced by what people define as benefit and what people define as, I don't want this. That's a con for me. And a con for someone might be that their legs are sore the next day. Whereas for me, that's a pro. I feel awesome from training and making my legs raked. So it's very individualistic. But what were the other?
Yeah. Okay. So
what was the count of some of the things that you wrote down?
So getting back to my physical emotional material, this is some examples which I put in more the high reward one. So for me, it was handstanding injuries. There's a risk every time I go for a handstand that I could have an injury of some sort. But in all likelihood, handstanding is one of the kind of safest ones. You can handstand and be pretty damn good at it up into your 50s, 60s. Gymnasts and things like that, which take more toll on the body, less so. So I put handstands. Okay, there's more of a benefit for them, for me, in terms of releasing stress, aesthetics, getting better, the pursuit of just trying to work on something and whatnot outweighs the minor risk of a injury, which is not likely to be a life-ending one unless you're doing it on the side of a cliff.
Yep.
And it's not likely to be absolutely catastrophic as you'll usually see in kind of gymnastics or more, what would you call them, velocity type sports where you're really at movement. So that's one, just for me. An emotional one. I almost missed a flight to Japan to actually catch up with you and Joey.
On the way from South America?
Yes, correct. And that was because I was saying goodbye to my girlfriend at the time. And, we're having a kind of like deep goodbye. The future was uncertain, and the extra 15 minutes, 20 minutes I spent chatting with her and just kind of being in her presence, although it almost made me miss the flight, for me, I look back at that and I go, sure, I would have been pissed off at myself for missing it. And materially, I would have had to have paid an extra couple of grand or something to get the next flight, which would have been expensive. Still, I think in that sense, the reward was much better than this material money that I would have to pay, because we connected really deeply, and I think that was worth it in my eyes. Another one is if you listen to the latest conversation with Alexander Watanabe, he was talking about how he takes his asymmetric opportunity that he takes is every time he goes out to lunch with someone, he buys a lunch. It's an extra $8. There's no splitting of the tab or anything. He just buys $8. He's in Portugal.
Where they going? I was going to say, damn, where they going for food, man? Yeah. Jesus, this is not Australia.
No, not at all. And it's a small cost on his portion, but it allows this opportunity for the giving and receiving of reciprocity, of forming a relationship. Next time that person buys him lunch back, they're both exactly at the same spot where they started, but you've created this circular goodwill, which has a value in of itself, probably way exceeding the $16 of money that was transacted back and forth. So that's one of those ones, a material one where, sure, it's a small material risk in that you might never see this person again, and oh shit, I've wasted $8. But in terms of the relationship that can come from that, emotionally speaking, it's a no-brainer. You do that every time. So those are some of just examples, I suppose. Really, for me, just trying to highlight that the physical, emotional, and material, and obviously it can vary. It can vary. If there's a $1 billion that is on the edge of a cliff, well, and it's Satoshi's keys, and I know on good authority it's his keys. It's worth me going close to the edge of the cliff to pick it off and then backing off. Yeah, that's worth it, even though there is that physical risk. So
there's always, there's
interplay.
Here's an interesting one. I saw this pop up on TikTok, and it was, would you flip a coin for $1 billion or get given $10 million?
Yeah. I'd probably just go for the 10 million. I don't need a billion.
And that was my same mentality. I was like, I'll go 10 million. However, when you look at it, like the statistics of it,
yeah, of course.
You should go for the billion flip. Why wouldn't you? That's like multiple times over. But again, this comes into play of
value.
To we're not statistical creatures. And here's the other thing about that I thought about. Just everything that you mentioned there, I can see for sure. It can be asymmetric opportunities for those individuals. Then I go, I could list out reasons why when they wouldn't be. Let's just go. So you say you should buy lunch for people. What if that buying of lunch means you don't have any money to get home on the bus? Or something equivalent, like you cannot get home, you're walking home. Okay, maybe it's not an asymmetric opportunity, but now this is like way worse for you to do this.
What's his name? And that's literally the situation in the movie The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith.
I think I've seen him.
Okay, so he's basically a single dad trying to get work in this company or something like this, struggling to feed his son, and he goes out with the guy who had his interview. He just had his interview with, and the guy's like, shit, I don't have any cash on him, and this guy is well employed, well worth in excess of what he has, and he's like, I don't have anything. I mean, could you spot me for a taxi cab? And you see Will Smith, and he's like, this is the bus money to get home, or the money to feed his kid for that evening, but he takes a risk. He gives it to him. Wrong, Will Smith, you did it wrong.
But I think this is the thing. It's very individual. It's very independent. I think it can be helpful to suggest things around maybe what is the valuable things, like you mentioned, again, mind, body, material things. You might have some core concepts, and I think the only thing I can see us saying to people, like maybe more Lights Nation out there, is find the things that are maybe the big categories. Again, I've got mind, body, soul. Maybe I could associate it against there. Am I really going to be doing it forward-looking? Unlikely, but I might retrospect and then use those learnings for the future. AKA, if you are put in that position again where you're departing a country and perhaps not sure that you're going to see a loved one or someone that you really care about, you might be okay to take the risk again of, okay, I might miss this flight, but I know that this is going to be well worth it. Cool. That's your learning that you've taken from being able to see what's happened in the past. Not necessarily are you going to, just as that moment begins, you're going to analyze in your mind like, oh, is this an asymmetric opportunity? Should I take it or not?
And who knows? If I'd missed the flight, I maybe would have said that was an awful trade-off.
Maybe
extra 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That sucked in comparison to
waiting,
the time wasted, the extra money, the loss of potentially not arriving at the same time as you guys. If flights were delayed and there was no other available flight, this is all of this is so hazy and in the air in retrospect. It's not
solid. And so look, I'll end with this. No, there's a comment there, but I'll end it with this from my part, is that unless it's a freakish extreme asymmetric opportunity where it's just obvious, you don't even have to talk about it, you don't have to think really about it, just go, you'll know this is kind of dumb. Or maybe you do have to reflect on it that, hey, maybe I shouldn't jump through these rings of fire into a piranha-infested pool just to get 3 likes on Instagram. No, don't do that. That's stupid. And if you're thinking about doing that, then you are way off kilter on your asymmetric opportunities. Otherwise, don't overthink that. I think don't overthink that. There's more benefit in just focusing in on the core. What are the things that you value the most? And being really clear on what they are, as in you were able to be quite clear on the things that are valuable to you. And I think we can safely say that both of us, we've communicated on the podcast a lot of times. I think the primary thing is the foundation is just knowing the values. If you know them well enough, you will at least definitely consciously, but sometimes subconsciously, go and do the things that you know are going to be doing right by that. Otherwise, I just go back to that Twitter post and a few other things that I've read. It's just, one, humans are not statistical creatures. You're not going to, like, this is a Nicola Taleb's Black Swan event or similar things when it comes to the financial or statistical side. You're just not going to calculate them that way in your mind. Again, we just said the $10 million and the $1 billion coin flip. You're just not going to be wanting to do things by logic. You're going to be doing them by the emotional reasoning that humans follow. So that's going to kind of put you off kilter. And I feel like if you were just completely irrational, then... are you really human? I feel like you kind of like go off the deep end in the way that most people are interacting. But then I just think as long as you got those values and principles, just knowing them is going to be more beneficial than ever really thinking about, reading that Twitter and going, I'm going to find what are the other asymmetric opportunities out there that I can find for just trying to find them in like a plain sense, like as if you're expecting to find that there's a list of asymmetric opportunities like presented there that are universal. And I think that's not the case. It's very, very independent, very individual, and you got to just put in the hard yakka to find your values.
Nailed it. All right. So my summary, very similar. Always comes back to subjective value. There's not going to be a universal opportunity. I fucking wrote the same thing you just said, that everyone should take. That's silly. There's a thread like that is sure, it's fine, but it's aimed at, tech bros in the Silicon Valley.
Yep.
If a single mom reading that in Africa will be like, okay, I should start a podcast right now. That is great use of my time.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think creativity plays an important part in the judgment process. If I was more creative, maybe I could have been like, I'm going to learn about how you can get fucked around in this shitty industry that is media or chasing after fame or things like that. I think you actually need to be really creative, because if you're in the 1990s and the internet's coming online, I don't think many people anticipated where we would be 20 years later.
Nah, not at all.
Not many have that foresight and capability. And this does tie into the point I'll make soon, but imagining the impacts of the internet or COVID, they're just super difficult, super difficult. And time is another factor which we didn't particularly talk about. Risk reward evaluation becomes so much more complex when it's further out. Money, when people are doing accounting, they add a discount factor because money is just worth so much less in the future. You need to use these tools to go, okay, $1,000 in the future is not as valuable as $90 right now, or $1,000 in 10 years or something like that. So there's all sorts of things you need to consider time-wise when it's related to this. So it's very stupid to try and say a universal thing.
No, there isn't.
Here's my universal current possibilities. So I created a list of 4 of them.
Okay.
Value for value. So I've even put value for value. I think that idea has captured some people in a way, and not just myself. It's captured other people in a way that not much else can. Funnily enough, I think I would be the guy, as in I'm the value for value guy. If I was ever going to have
be a guy, it'd be
shtick, you know how there's so for example, there's the Sigma guy. You know how it's this guy on TikTok who's really good at creating that Patrick Bateman face from American Psycho.
Yes.
It's the kind of like kissing face, and then however he does it, all his videos just involve that. He's that guy. There's another guy, I can't remember his name as well, where he's got really thick mustaches, almost like a Giga Chad type chin, and he'll kind of like lean in and look, and it's just these people who have crafted a thing for themselves. Now, how long will this last? Who knows? Some of them, they've lasted a couple of years, as that's the one thing that they do. So if I was going to be anything, it'd be the V for V guy, but I'm just not an all-in sort of person. So if someone else wants to capture that opportunity's there. Asymmetric. Another one, crypto. It seems to have divided the right/wrong people about the internet all over again. You look at Paul Krugman. We'll see that the internet has the aspect of changing the world as much as the fax machine did. He's got this funny ass quote where you go, wow, were you wrong on that? He's also very anti-Bitcoin and very anti-crypto. And then people like Mark Andreessen, who of Netscape fame, who created one of the first browsers, he saw what the internet could possibly be, and he's very pro-crypto of, this is going to change a lot of things. So I've noticed that kind of playing out again of people who took the asymmetric opportunity that was the internet. They're saying the same things about cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, whatever you want to call them. So I'm sort of thinking, that's an asymmetric opportunity. Similar to, I actually have sent a question to Andreas Antonopoulos about that comparison between the internet and crypto, how valid that is, because I never got to really experience the internet. It was mostly there when I was growing up. So I'm keen to see what he says on that. He also had some thoughts which relate to the next musing that's kind of inspired.
Okay, cool.
Another one, you were actually talking about this, introspection and self-reliance / development, self-development.
Mm-hmm.
I think the majority of problems can probably be solved internally first.
Mm-hmm.
And so in terms of opportunity wise, it's probably worth asymmetrically looking in, and there's not that much downsides to looking in at yourself, but you can figure out a whole lot and it can solve a lot of problems. So
Yeah, good point.
that might be one if you want to put that. And then the last one I had was cold approaching. I think it's useful even for extroverts.
Cold approaching.
Yeah. It's
I
probably underutilized.
would go say cold approaching, and this is not not
in a sexual
dating.
sense.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yeah,
This is just anything, just
Correct.
going up and having a conversation. Today I actually did this. It wasn't. There's a guy who actually reached out to me. I've talked to him before, who wanted to be on the podcast. I basically declined in saying that I'm actually just really busy getting ready for a baby, so I'm not like doing any interviews really or prepping for anything. But he approached me today at the gym, and sometimes I was like heavy in the middle of a good workout, and he approached. I was like, I should have a bit of a talk with him. So I kind of approached. Well, he approached, but I kind of opened the conversation and got into it. And it was a really enjoyable one. So there is benefits to that. We're just cold approach or allowing the approach sometimes rather than being like
or
the
encouraging
like
sort of thing. Yeah,
letting it go. That it can be very good.
for sure.
So with that, we're basically saying
What
that there is no universal asymmetric opportunities apart from the ones to be immortals. I've called out.
Of course.
That's basically
and one in the chat here. Gambling has huge asymmetric value because if you only gamble with the boys, you can't lose. Thank you, Westside Baby.
Westside Baby
My
with
brother.
the truth. Damn. See, this is what we need our audience for, folks. Because if we don't have that, how are you ever going to get this truly beautiful knowledge? Yeah. Well, actually, here's my final one around why I believe asymmetric opportunities can, like those, be a thing. However, I think the crucial thing is that state of play is very much determined by the time, where you're living, what's happening all around the place. It can be very fair to say that something's an asymmetric opportunity now won't be the same thing as an asymmetric opportunity 2 years from now. Will be exactly.
You hear Gary Vee talking about this all the time with regards.
And this can apply to anything. You think technology was
advertising.
AI an asymmetric opportunity in 1970s and 80s? Not really. No. Like if you went hard there, man, you shit out of luck. You lost all your money.
Yeah.
You went hard on AI the last couple of years, and like Microsoft and a few others, you invested well in OpenAI. You're doing real well, right? Mm-hmm. So from a financial perspective, from a just utilization perspective, it's time and place thing. The concept could be very similar, or it could be a build on of the concepts. So I think a lot of the things that we talk about still can be a very timely related aspects, because perhaps had you say cryptocurrencies around an asymmetric opportunity in 2009, I don't think anybody would have believed that. You probably wouldn't even know that. And I think it comes to information. There is largely, I can't think of almost one where we have all 100% of the information. You won't have that. And so when even the things that you just stated, something could happen, could eventually. Now we're using probability and statistics some way, and our emotional thoughts in some other aspects. But we don't know that, 2 years from now, every single cryptocurrency gets like completely abolished because of, I don't know, aliens denote that we have to use their tokens. Well, there you go. There's no more cryptocurrencies, and we were wrong. But, you can never be sure of the information. And so you can make some guesses and you can make some assumptions on the opportunities, the asymmetric opportunities. But I think largely they're assumptions. You just have to go off your best bet, and key to that one, self-introspecting in terms of that. That's probably the stuff that you can really handle, and you can probably deal with a lot of the stuff in that regard. Mm-hmm. So, very good. Okay, folks, we'll leave it at that. With that bombshell, as they normally end it. That show that, did you ever watch Top Gear?
Bits and pieces.
Yeah. They always finished it with, on that bombshell.
Yeah.
I always thought, is there like some sort of way that we finish off podcasts? And I was trying to think of something just as I'm talking about it right now, like something interesting to be like, to lead it into the Valley for Valley, but I couldn't think about it. So if someone can, tell me is there a particular catchphrase we could use for Valley for Valley?
I like our style.
Just our style. Well, as Kyrin mentioned, asymmetric opportunities. One of them is Valley for Valley, and Kyrin is your guy for the shtick. For those at home playing and they heard of Nathaniel's experience of, hey, seems like it's a bit of a struggle. Why should I even participate? Doesn't seem like the opportunity's there for me. It's an asymmetric opportunity in the wrong way. What would you suggest to folks?
Well, I think actually, funnily enough, it's even though he experienced that, it's that's a necessary learning experience to know, okay, this isn't going to be all easy and whatnot. So it is, it is sort of like...
It's a necessary evil?
Yeah, somewhat. It's kind of like the equivalent of me learning how I don't want to deal with the pain of going and getting timesheets and shit like that. You know, it's kind of like, okay, the pain of if you throw money into crypto and it all works swimmingly from the very get-go, man, that's a risky proposition, because you might come out of it with some thoughts and misconceptions about how new and exciting and risky it actually is. If you're playing around and you're not taking proper security practices, if you're not, keeping your seed phrases safe, if you're not being careful about clicking on links and phishing and all that sort of shit, it's not a good idea. You don't want to have a real easy time on your first get-go. I think it's actually useful. So with that being said, if you want to contribute to the show, if you have any Satoshis on a Lightning wallet of some sort, you can do this. Probably the easiest way is if you have getalby.com. That's a good way of a wallet where you can connect with websites, hopefully our website in the short future, and being able to send in a Boostagram via the desktop. If you're more a mobile sort of person, one of the easiest ways is just to get the Fountain app. And if you start listening to shows, and for the first hour of every day listening, you get, 30 to 50 sats, something like that. If you bank up that enough, you can send in a Boostagram of, you can even send in 30 sats and we'll see it come through. So I would suggest going down that route for the first time. And
honestly, I would even say to people, if
big money at risk, or
you might even want to go and get Fountain, listen to a couple of the Mere Mortals episodes, over the next couple of weeks, or retrospectively go back and listen. Use some of those sats that you earn from that to reboost, to kind of get the idea of the play around. Awesome. That to me is getting on board with the experience.
Yep. And one of the benefits of this is it is a better experience there, because I put links related to what we're talking about. So you'll see a link to that tweet that Juan was talking about, or the tweet thread. You will also see some pictures, chapter images of my notes, for example, Juan's notes if he has any. And then I also just chuck up pictures of ourselves, so you can even get a feel of what we look like when we're talking.
It's beneficial. Honestly, it goes a long way. And we're starting to see, and I was showing Kyrin that on the Apple podcast, for some reason, we can't see even the chapter images that we're trying to put up.
Is that still like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly it is. I can show you straight after this. But again, operate in the podcasting 2.0 space where they're moving quicker.
Yes.
It's moving quicker. There's newer things. You're going to get better experiences. We're going to be moving towards having the experience be better for you. And so we're trying to provide that extra value. All we ask is for that value back from yourselves through the form of a Boostagram or through streaming. Yeah. So make sure you operate in that space.
Look, I sent a message to Andreas in his Q&As, Antonopoulos, and he read it out, and the message was something along the lines of, what do you think of podcasting 2.0 and the ability for micropayments and things like this? And he didn't even say the word podcasting 2.0. From what I can tell, if he knows about it, it is very glancing knowledge. And he was talking a lot more about the chicken and egg situation of micropayments. And, if you want people listening, you need podcasters who are asking for it and supporting it. And then if there's podcasters who are asking and doing that, they are only doing that because they need listeners who support. So we're taking the hit here.
Yep.
We're doing it. So we ask that you join, because you do have a podcaster who is asking for payments.
Correct.
And who appreciates your support coming into the show.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we're going to leave it at that. I hope you have enjoyed. And if you want to reach out at all, you've got multiple means.
Yeah, any of the links down the bottom.
Links, but yes, just reading them out if you're listening. Discord, you can join the Discord. Go on our YouTube, leave comments. Go on Instagram, leave comments. Go on the website, send through a message.
We have a Facebook. Don't leave a comment there.
You're probably not checking it.
Yeah, very rarely. It's
I just don't use that platform as much anymore.
Neither.
Barely at all. So, anyways, Mere Mortals, hopefully you find asymmetric opportunities in your life, whatever they may be to you, because I certainly don't seem to believe on them. But make sure you try to utilize some of the ones that Kyrin they mentioned. For now, that is it. Mere Mortals, one out.
Kyrin out. Boy.
Triangle. Good.
Show me that thingy before you forget.
Good. The Apple one?
Yeah.
Also, Nat just messaged me about the shirt. So I gotta get the extra large.
Okay. I'll grab that out for you right now. All right, everyone who's listening, we're just going to be doing some stuff. So I'm going to end the stream. I'll be on the Discord in 5 minutes time, 10 minutes time if you want to chat. And